Welcome to a Civilization 7 guide on mastering the first 50 turns of Civ 7. Today, we're playing Ben Franklin as the Greeks, and we'll be playing on the deity difficulty on standard speed. This is a normal spawn that we've got, nothing too crazy. We're going to be going through absolutely everything you need to know over the first 50 turns and some of the best practices you can look to implement through your playthroughs. We're going to be playing a little bit slower because we are on that standard speed compared to something like an online or a quick speed, but we're still going to be able to progress relatively quickly through the game. One thing to note is that every leader's got different bonuses, and Benjamin Franklin is no exception. For Benjamin Franklin today, we are going to have bonuses mainly towards our science as well as our production buildings. So we'll be keeping an eye out on that and just sort of giving you guidance wherever we go through this game. But a couple of other caveats are that we're not going to be looking to play a warmongering campaign in this game. This is going to be more focused on the macro, more focused on getting set up in these first 50 turns and trying our best to convert the land that we've got around us into the most productive land possible. So let's take a look at our starting spawn here. So we'll turn our yields on, and one of the biggest things that you'll notice is that we have a desert towards the north. Now we could look to play into something like Petra here, which increases the yields of our gold, or of our desert, by giving it gold, giving it production, but it doesn't give us a whole lot of growth. In fact, there is pretty much no growth up here whatsoever, but I do see growth down here, and that is through the navigable river. So naturally, a navigable river is going to extend somewhere in this region by judging by the way that it snakes like this. And because of that, we'll look to expand down towards this direction. We'll want to make sure that we utilize our settle lens and do take advantage of any fresh water. Now, one thing to note is that when you settle off fresh water, you're going to be losing happiness. So even though you'll have base happiness that'll be on your founder and then on your capital city, you'll actually lose it after a couple of turns. I don't know exactly how it works just yet. I still need to do a bit more testing on it, but the general theory at the moment is just to avoid settling off fresh water for the moment. So we've got, even though we're not technically on the river tile, we've got adjacency from the navigable river here, which gives us the fresh water. So we'll go ahead and settle here. This is a decent little spot. So we'll go ahead and plant down. Now we are playing the Greeks, which means that we're going to have access to influence a little bit more. So just to talk a little bit about the synergy that we've opted for today, Benjamin Franklin has the ability to have 2 endeavors of the same type active at a time, which means that you'll be wanting to send out more endeavors. And because of that, +3 influence per turn on the palace is a huge bonus. The standard is only having 10 per turn. That puts us up to 13. On top of that, the mementos that we've chosen today are further going to synergize with that. I've just gone for some really simple ones, nothing too far down the tech tree. We're going to start with 1 extra social policy slot, and we're also going to get 1 diplomat attribute point. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that diplomat attribute point in. I want to pick up an extra influence. So now we've got 14 influence a turn that is going to be carried over, and that's going to mean that we can take advantage of Ben Franklin's endeavor bonus a little bit more often throughout the game. So now that we've got our settling location, we're obviously pretty happy with this, and we can indeed see that the navigable river looks to snake around somewhat like this, and because of that, it means that we can actually grow off this. So our primary concern was towards the north and not having growth, and if we move or stay in place, or even if we move away, there is a risk that we don't have that growth. And growing in the early game is incredibly important, making sure that we've got access to big tiles. So the fact that we've got the cowl in here is going to be very helpful, but my main focus is going to be getting a key set up just so we can take advantage of this navigable river, because we can get some really good yields on this river throughout the game. For our first production, we'll be taking our scout, which is pretty stock standard. I would always advise to go with your scout, and we complete agriculture. So now we've got our first growth, and you might be tempted to move into the silk on a start like this because it's providing culture. It's also an extra 10% culture, but you got to remember that this provides a 10% culture bonus to your city. And if we take a look at our city at the moment, if we have a look in resource allocation, you'll see that we're producing 0 culture. Even though we've got 10 culture per turn coming through, that's 10 culture that's coming in per turn that's just given to our empire. It's not actually given to our city specifically. So we'll go ahead, we'll queue up a second scout. I think the standard opening in almost every single game should be a 3 scout opening. So one of the things that we'll do is we'll look down towards the south, and you can see we've got an ice wall down here. So that means that we're down on the south side of the map. You can also kind of tell by the desert, the fact that there's always typically going to be desert and tropical towards the center, and there's the ice wall towards the north. So the main decision that we're going to be looking to make here is where do we send our scout, and naturally we're going to send them up to the north, and we want to try and get as much reach as we can on these, and we've spotted out a campfire to the north. Now we've got a growth option. We want to get out to this cowlin. Now, we could look to abuse, or I say abuse, but we could look to try and resettle down for the Kalin, but we're going to want to pick up this tile anyway, so we're not even going to bother doing that. We're just going to go straight in for it. And for anyone wondering what I'm talking about, it's just the granary trick. You can basically evict a citizen. We don't need to do that here. Just it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, next up, it's our first technology. So all three of these technologies are really important to us. The main thing that we're going to be looking for is what tiles are we working right now? And the answer is going to be fishing boats. Now, we are going to be on the Kowloon shortly, which is going to be a different bonus, but right now we're on the fishing boats, so we can look to get that bonus. That's going to give us additional food. But one thing to note is leading more into that bonus from Benjamin Franklin, he does get bonus production towards production buildings. So with the fishing technology, we don't actually have any production buildings in here. We've got access to the quay, which is a warehouse building, but it's not a production building. And then under pottery, we've got the brickyard. We've also got the saw pit under animal husbandry. So we might opt to head down towards these ones. And I think moving down onto pottery could make the most sense, because it will actually unlock that brickyard for us, and it'll also provide +1 production to our clay pits, and we're going to have a lovely clay pit down here shortly. And if we take a look, we've only got 4 turns of production until our next citizen comes out, and that is going to justify us doing that. So we'll go ahead and pick up our very first option here from our goodie hut. So we can take 50 damage and take 60 culture, or we can have 50 happiness towards the celebration. Now, one of the key things to note early on in Civ 7, culture is very powerful because it allows you to get to your pantheon a lot sooner. So at the moment, we're researching chiefdom. We want to go into mysticism first. In pretty much every single leader, you want to go into mysticism first. There's an exception on maybe if you're like playing Trung Track with Rome, then you would go for the free army commander first. But generally, moving into mysticism is always going to be the right play. And taking a huge amount of culture like this is going to speed us up a massive amount. So we are definitely going to take that. Even if we take the damage, it's not a huge loss for us. We can always heal up a little bit later. We've got a wreckage right here, so we're just going to jump onto that. And we've got another option, culture and happiness versus gold. Even though the gold might be nice, we're going to go ahead and take that culture. The sooner we get the culture, the better, because you've got to remember when it comes to our mementos as well, and this is specific to the game that we're playing, we start with 1 extra social policy slot. So the sooner that we get to our social policy slot, the better it's going to be. And so that's going to be next turn. We're now going to be able to put a social policy in, but because we've got the extra social policy slot, we are now able to put both of these in. We don't even need to make the decision on which one we're going to pick. Now, normally you would have to make the decision as to which one you're going to pick in this scenario. Generally, the best way to do that is to sort of look at your town and go, okay, you know, how much is that one production really going to change my life right now? And the answer is typically a lot. Unless you start off with some really nice production tiles around your town, that's going to make a lot of sense. Additionally, maybe you're very keen to rush a pantheon. Maybe you're going for a specific strategy. So you could look to potentially go into that extra culture to unlock that pantheon faster. Now, for today's playthrough, we're not going to be looking at the Greek unique bonuses, just because we want to try and keep this as general as we possibly can. So we're not going to be playing into any of these bonuses here at all. We're going to stick in the Antiquity Age, and we'll just give you a little bit of a run through on what our plans are. So we're going to start off with Mysticism. From there, we'll come down to Discipline. After we've gone into Discipline, we might look to come up and get the Mastery for Mysticism, just for the +2 food in all settlements. This is quite powerful. And then after that, we'll then go into Code of Laws, which is going to give us access to the Merchant. From here, it also gives us access to Oratory, which is quite powerful, the +2 influence per turn, which is a social policy slot. And then from here, we'll probably look to play into Citizenship, Entertainment, or Organized Military. All 3 of these are really good. The Entertainment and Organized Military both give an extra settlement limit, which is going to help us expand in the early game, and we want to have as many settlements as we possibly can without going over the limit too much. And then Citizen is going to give us access to the Wuyang Palace, which is a +6 influence, which is just going to further synergize with our whole strategy here. So our first government has come up, and you can never really go wrong with oligarchy. Just to talk a little bit about them, depending on what strategy you're going for will depend on which government you want to play into. Perhaps you're playing Hatshepsut and you want to add in some more production on wonders, then Classical Republic is going to make sense. Maybe you're going for a science-focused strategy, even though we do get science bonuses. That's not our focus. Our focus here is going to be oligarchy. Some great bonuses to the early game with production on buildings as well as food. So I would recommend this in pretty much like 99% of cases. It's just going to make a lot of sense. Now, one thing to note is that we're scouting towards the north of the map here. We know that there's going to be a lot up here, and we've got a decision. Do we go left or do we go right? And I'm going to opt to go right here because our second scout's going to be coming out shortly, and we're just going to send him down this left route. And by doing that, you know, we'd have this scout instead doubling over onto this, and then that way we're kind of looking at free tiles that we're getting with this scout instead. So that's the way I'm going to think about it, and we'll continue moving forward here. our scout going to make his way through. So we could look to try and take advantage of our search function, and that basically, because we're at a crossroads here, we don't really know where to go. That will give us a better idea on where we can go. So we've unlocked a couple of our little goodie huts. So we've got a wreckage that we can choose from, or we've got an encampment that we can choose from. And I'm going to opt for the encampment just because it is more likely to have culture, just because it's purple. And I'm 99% sure that should be the way that it goes. So what we'll look to do is, I think we'll come through this way. And then that should give us the guarantee on the next turn. Hopefully nobody else picks it up. We can now grow. So we're going to go straight down to the Cowlin. And that is going to give us 3 food, 1 happiness, and if we check our resources, that's also going to give us the additional 2 food. So we're growing strong here early on. Our second scout is out, and one of the things I like to do with my second scout is just to do a search just in the main capital, and that's actually going to give you some vision down here, so you know, okay, you want to come down here, you want to collect this, but we're not going to do that with the second scout. We're actually going to do that one with the third scout, because I think one of the key differences between Civ 7 and Civ 6 is just by having this ability, it can almost guarantee that you're going to find value from your scouts. So we're going to look to head out over this way, and we can see it looks like we might actually be on the edge of the continent here, which is great from a defensive perspective, because it means that we're not in the middle. And we've got another opportunity. We can't actually take this one, so it doesn't even really matter what it is to gain the earliest available technology. And even if we could do this, I don't know if I would actually take this, mainly because our earliest available technology is animal husbandry, pottery, or sailing. And we've already invested a significant amount into pottery, and there's a risk that we do this and it just gives us pottery anyways. So it would be a bit of a risk. So, you know, we'd be looking at losing 100 gold here for potentially only 3 turns of science. If pottery was actually completed and we had, you know, just between these two, then it would definitely be a reasonable option. But for us today, we're just going to go ahead. We'll take the gold. It makes the most sense. And now, oh, that is so loud. That is so damn loud. Apologies to your ears. They hurt. It hurt mine as well. Jeez Louise, that's loud, isn't it? Okay, so let's continue up with the scout. So we're going to look to come down onto this position. So if we just math it out, you can see it's going to be 1, and then 2, and then 3 down here. So we don't get any free ones in. I'm trying to look at a potential way that we could come in from the north. Doesn't look like it. 1, then 2, then 3. Yeah, so this is always going to be the best route, and we want to try and prioritize that as quickly as we can. And now we continue moving up, and we found ourselves some cotton. So this is quite nice. We've also got a volcano, and we've got this is looking like a great expansion spot already, just because we've got the fresh water here. So that's going to be quite powerful for us in the early game. We're just going to move straight onto this tile. We're not too fast. We're almost certainly second. This is beautiful. We're definitely going to be taking that. It can be a bit dangerous though, because we've got the volcano here, so we might have to think. Oh, it's actually this is quite a tough settle, because the only freshwater tiles, if we take a look at the lens, the only 2 freshwater tiles that you've got are both adjacent to the volcano, and that means that there's going to be eruptions around. Now, there's ways that you can mitigate that, which we'll talk about as we get closer to it. But for the moment, ooh, okay. All right, that is a bit different, a little bit more interesting. So we could come in for this, but we're already at low health here. So I'm just gonna back away gently, and this is sort of like this is the cost, right? You took this early, goodie hut, and now because of that, you can't really challenge this. So I'm gonna heal up just for a couple of turns, and then we'll come in, because there's always a risk that like a slinger spawns, and then it just attacks you and just one-shots you. So you do need to be very cautious of that. So we'll continue moving up over at this time. And we've definitely got a bit of isolation here. We haven't met anybody yet. And we've got another option. Do we go into our coal? I think we almost certainly take the silk here. We could look to potentially take something else. But I think the silk is going to make the most sense. It's just going to guarantee that growth continues growing. We're at 11. So that's going to push us from 11 up to 14. So that is a really nice difference that we're able to take. And the extra culture is great, right? You go from 12 to 13 culture. Might not seem like a lot, but it definitely starts to add up. So we can look at sailing for +1 food here as well. Animal husbandry, we haven't moved out over onto this tile yet. So I think sailing's probably a smart choice. And we've just met. Oh my lord, it's so... I don't know why that's so loud. I apologize. I could probably turn it down, but you can see it's actually giving us bonuses throughout the entirety of this river here. Look at this tile, 2+2. Like these are incredibly good tiles. So we're going to thank the flood. But we've just met Harriet Tubman, and now we've got some cool options. We've got some cool options available to us, something that I really want to talk about. So we're looking to play a macro focus here. We want to play a safe game. We want to play a slow game. We want to build up. And because of that, we want to nurture our relationships. We want to be friendly with everybody. We're not looking to get aggressive, at least not yet, this early on. And one of the biggest mistakes that you can make in the early game would be to offer Harriet Tubman a research collaboration immediately. And part of the reason why is because we want her to have the best possible feelings towards us. So it looks like she's, I don't even, where has she come from? She's come from like over here or something. This scout, we would have spotted it. So it is almost certainly coming in from this direction. So let's just make sure we move our scout down here. It's going to be very important for us to beat her to the goodie hut. But what we need to do is we need to make sure that if we take a look at her right now, you'll see that she's actually met someone already. So there's a good chance she's sent out her agreements already. Her collaboration agreements already have been sent out. That's highly likely. So on the next turn that we have here, it will depend on whether we offer those agreements or not, because she will be then either sending her agreements in, and we want to make sure that we've got enough influence to accept them. When we accept those agreements, that's going to affect us positively. So at the moment, we've got a +20 on a first meet, +10 on a shared government, and if we support her agreement, that's going to also give her a positive mindset of us. So here we've got, I could have actually got in a free lookout there, so a little bit of a mistake for me. Apologies, a bit rushed. And let's heal up just a couple of turns here so we can try and snag this one out. And now we've got a decision to make. So definitely at this point, 3 scouts is probably enough here. At 5 population, you'll be able to create your first settler. And knowing that Harriet is here, somewhere in this region, most likely somewhere around here, we want to try and expand to this as quickly as we can, because if she takes this, like, this is a great spot. Okay, this is going to be an amazing spot for us, and we want to have a buffer city in between her and us, so that in the event she does come to war with us, we've at least got a little bit of space to play with. There's not to mention that this is incredibly defensible, and if you ever tried to attack a city through this, it would be almost impossible. So that's one of the things to note. So what are we going to do in the 5 turns that we've got before that? Well, we've got 2 options. Number 1, we can go for a brickyard. Number 2, we can go for a granary. Now, when it comes to granary, if we look at our tiles, what's our granary actually going to give us? Well, if we compare the granary provides +1 to farms, pastures, and plantation. So we've got a plantation already. In fact, I think we might need to repair that. No, it's working. Never mind. So we've got that as an option. It's also going to take 9 turns, so it doesn't really sync up with our 5 turns remaining. So instead, I'm going to opt for a brickyard, and we've got a 2-1 bonus that we can put on, and it doesn't really matter where we put this down because we're going to get the bonus everywhere. So what I might do is I might go ahead and look to try and put that down. We might extend out our influence somewhere, maybe over in this direction. I'm thinking that I'm probably going to play into Petra here. I don't think we're going to see it in this game, but because of that, the decision making is very much going to be about looking to try and expand out. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to drop it down here. It's going to take 6 turns for us to build, but it should sync up relatively well for us in this early game. So let's go ahead. We're going to move 1 tile up, and then we'll move 1 tile across. And we've got an option. Do we go for production or do we go for happiness? Well, production, we're ahead by a little bit here. And if we take this production, that should bring us in line. In fact, it's actually made us eclipse where our forecast is. So that is absolutely fine. And we're still healing up over here. So we're up to a decent amount here. I don't think we're going to get 1 shot. Let's move in. And because there's 2, to me, it's more important that we actually keep the scout than we get this wreckage. So I'm just going to ignore this. Just because there's a second unit there now, I think it's probably worthwhile just saying, you know what, we're not going to bother. Now, Harriet hasn't offered us that research collaboration that we wanted. And unfortunately, because of that, it means that she's, we're not going to be able to build that with her, and that's okay. But we can offer it to her. Let's see what she says. She accepts our research collaboration. So that means that it's only going to be a +4 bonus to science. It could have been a +6 if she supported it, but she just accepted it. So she'll get +2 science out of that. I'll get +4. We'll get +4. And we'll be happy with that. But it means that we've got this little stock in the bank, because remember, if we meet any other leaders, we're going to need to have that ready to go. We're going to need to have in the back pocket some influence there to spare. And keep in mind that that's not the only way that you can spend it. Now, here we'll see that, remember that when you land or when you end your, or when you touch a goodie hut, it's going to end your turn. So we always want to try and end our turn on the goodie hut. So we'll go ahead and we'll use our search ability, and you can see we get absolutely everything. We actually get vision down here, and we'll have sailing in 5 turns, so we can come down to this and grab the coastal edifice. I think that's what it's called. Edifice, yeah. And we'll now jump over onto it, and we can get some more production, or we can get some more happiness. Now, at this point, we're already, like, pretty damn close to this. Like, what are we going to do with the extra production? Like, realistically, we're just kind of banking it. We're not really doing anything with it. So I don't think the happiness here is a terrible idea. So we'll go ahead. We'll take that. Normally, I would sort of relegate happiness to being pretty much the last thing that I would choose. But I think it makes sense in this circumstance to actually do that. So we're going to come up and loop around. This looks like it's a lake. So because of that, we'll try and loop around back in this direction and see if we can spot out Harriet. And you can see she's down towards the south. And there we go. We've actually just, I was going to say we've grown, but you can see we've gone to 5, which is now going to make us so that we can build a settler. But that's because we've completed this building. So our population's gone up by 1. Whenever you complete a building, it will go up. And we've actually got a golden age. So we can choose between food and buildings. And this is a pretty simple decision to make at this stage of the game when it comes to oligarchy, because even though we've got buildings that we do want to make, and we could get some really good bonus out of having that extra 30% production, we need to make settlers right now. We've just unlocked the ability to do that, so because of that, we're going to be missing out on that production bonus. So going into food here makes the most sense. We don't actually have any policy slots, and this is sort of the consequence of taking that memento that I was talking about, where you start with an extra policy slot, is that if you haven't unlocked anything to slot in there, then it's just kind of sitting there. It's idling out. So we'll go ahead, we'll queue up a settler and get started on this, and we'll continue moving. Looks like we've actually located another player. It's going to be Jose Rizal of the Philippines, who is actually playing as the Mississippians by the look of it. So we'll give him a friendly, warm greeting. And what we're going to do is we're going to very intentionally just wait. That's actually his capital as well. So we've got some good distance between us here. I can see a nice settlement. So we've seen one settlement is definitely here, probably this tile right here on freshwater. And then our second settlement is somewhere in this region, maybe here, because we do get fresh water from the oasis as well. And then that's going to guarantee that we can pick up this silk. It's also going to guarantee that we get the salt, the double dates, which, you know, double dates are always welcome where I'm from. So let's continue commanding on our next units. We're going to move up and around in this direction around the lake, and we'll hit our explore button. There we go. We actually spot out Tubman's homeland. So I think from here, we probably just want to move down and around is probably going to be the best bet. We could also go up. I guess that's another thing, because there's most likely this continent has formed like a diamond. And because of that, we do want to meet the last player that is on it. Now, we could come down here, but we've still got another 3 turns to go. So I think we might just leave it for the moment, just because we've also got this, independent people. We've got our expansion that's come through, so we'll go ahead, we'll click our Grow City button, and this is where we've got some good decisions that we can make. So we can play further into water here. We've got some good tiles to grow to, but we could also play into the pasture. But one thing to note is that we don't have animal husbandry yet. We don't have a granary. So we don't have a lot of bonuses towards this tile. But these two look incredible. In fact, both of these look very, very nice. And if we take a look here, right, that extra 2 production versus the 1 is going to make a big difference. So I think moving out to this tile here, the marsh, is going to make a lot of sense for us, because that's going to push us from 8 up to 10 production. And that's a huge bonus. And Jose Rizal has now given us an offering. So a cultural exchange. Now, keep in mind, we're in the fortunate position right now to have quite a lot of influence. If we were to extrapolate this over 18 turns, we've had 4 extra because of our bonus from being Greece, together with our bonus from having the extra social policy slot, or the extra leader attribute slot rather. So we've had an extra 4 per turn. So that works out over the course of 18 turns to be an extra 72 influence. And because of that, we're actually in a very fortunate position where we can accept that. We wouldn't be able to do that without, so we'll go ahead and do that. And on top of that, this is where it sort of gets into the whole concept of, do you actually offer this? What happens if the diamond actually ends here, and then the 4th player is down here and you meet them? And, you know, there's the reality that they may have spawned right here. And because of that, if you don't have the influence to be nice to them, it's going to cost you. It can cost you quite dearly. So we're not going to offer him that research collaboration just yet. We might let this get a little bit higher. Just make sure that we slow it up a little bit. All right, so we're going to go ahead. We're just going to move to this tile. We want to try and see, is this the capital? This is the capital. We can confirm. So both of these AI players, and keep in mind, we are playing this on the deity difficulty. Both of these players are yet to expand. And we've now got mysticism. So before I forget, I'm just going to hit this button, and I am just going to do a lookout. So there is Axum, and nice capital, actually. We've got a navigable river here for her. So pretty nice capital, some wine as well. So we'll definitely look to set up a trade route up here, some great resources. And let's take a look at our narrative choice. we can choose between plus 25 culture, plus 50 gold, or we can pay 25 gold to get plus 1 culture on the palace, which is your starting building, this bad boy right here, and you know exactly what we're going to do. There's a good chance that this game will run for about 130 turns, and then not to mention the extra eras as well, and that will continue to last. So we're definitely going to take that plus 1 culture. It will pay off for us in the long run. With regard to mysticism being complete, we'll now go down into discipline and look to pick up the army commander. That's going to be really important for us, and our pantheon. So there's a couple of options for us. Fertility rights is always the first one to go. It's unlikely you'll get these in your games. The AI just beelines for it every single time. We've also got the option for Monument of the Gods, another really good one, which gives you production towards wonders. God of the Sun is another great one. It's very good in Civ 7, in my opinion. I rate this quite highly. But for the strategy that we're going today, and it's another great altar bonus, is the city... Oh, it's taken. It's taken. I didn't even realize it was taken. I got so excited for it. I thought it was still here. The city patron goddess, plus 3 influence on the altar, which is incredibly powerful, because with the altar, you can actually get it in all of your towns. So this becomes 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 influence, and there's not really an easy way to get influence in Civ 7. So that was definitely one of my go-to strategies. But you've obviously got a lot of pantheons here, depending on the bonus that you're going to go for. But I would recommend steer clear of something like God of Wisdom, steer clear of, where is she? Up here, Goddess of Festivals. I don't think these are particularly strong. But Goddess of the Harvest, quite another strong one, and God of the Sun. So that's what we're going to be opting for today. God of the Sun is great, because you can just purchase it immediately and start getting that bonus straight away. We'll put Priesthood in, and we'll take a look and see how we're doing. We've got an enemy scout. Now, keep in mind that... Or, sorry, not an enemy scout, an independent people scout. Now, even though it's aggressive, it's red, the scouts won't be able to attack each other in Civ 7. So it does give you a little bit of a happy mindset, knowing that, okay, I can have this scout out here on relatively low HP and know that it's going to be okay. So we'll continue. Again, dude, how many games is this a row that we are getting Redwood Forest? This is the best... This is the best natural wonder there is in the game. Let's have a look at the terrain that we've got around it. Just because with this, it's quite dependent on the terrain. Just because if you've got vegetated terrain nearby, you're going to have quite the bonus. So it looks like there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of vegetated bonus or vegetated terrain, but we'll have to look to settle most likely on this tile. We'll just quickly have a squiz. Yeah, this is definitely going to be the one, because this one is vegetated. We could also go towards the top side. We'll have to see what we've got available over on this side, but at the moment, just judging by, I don't know, he's kind of close. You've definitely, and this is where it comes up to like the whole idea of balancing it. Now, how likely is it that Axum or that Harriet Tubman comes down here and settles here? I think it might be quite likely. This is a really nice spot. She does have other expansions, but we've also got the natural wonder here. So I think what we might do is we might actually train a unit or two and then just look to try and park them out here and just deter our Filipino friend from actually... putting any more aggression out here. So we'll go into animal husbandry. We'll finish off with that one for the moment. And let's jump over this lake and see what we've got. I always like to, whenever the turn finishes, you can see that it finishes on one of your units that you need to move, and then you just move it straight away at the beginning of the next turn, and it just kind of saves you a little bit of time. We're going to move away from the barbarian. That's what I'm going to call him, a barbarian. Get out of here, you barbarian. And we'll utilize this ability. So realistically, I mean, this is it's not the best city, but we've still got some vegetation in here. We might have to scout this out. We could probably, no, there's no fresh water over there, so it's going to be a little bit harder. Let's continue moving forward though. And do we do it? This is where it's like, it becomes tough. You know what I'm actually going to do? We're going to put in another settler in the queue. Could we? No, we don't have the gold to purchase another settler. I'm going to put in another settler in the queue immediately. We're going to send this one unguarded towards this position. I'm not too fussed about the potential that we lose this. I don't think that we're going to lose it along here. There's not many people in the way of hostile independence, we'll say that. Oh yeah, for the moment, mainly what we now want to do is guard this corridor. And we want to completely guard this from Jose Rizal, just because there is a likelihood that he will actually try and settle this. And we want to stop that, because just remember, you can go to war with him, right? Like you can. Oh, there we go. Our fourth player. You can go to war with him. Oh, hold on a minute. Wait, I don't want to lose this scout. Why can't I click this scout? I don't know what's happening here. It could just be because we've met Confucius. So we'll give him a friendly. We want to be friends with him. He's got some lovely bonuses for us. He's got some research himself. We can actually see how many people has he met. He's met everybody else. He's also unfriendly, which is great. We love that. Foster that oh, that's not mine. That's why. I'm trying to click. Is that Confucius? Yeah, that's Confucius. I'm trying to click Confucius's scout. Oh gosh, don't worry, guys. It's deity difficulty, but we might not be deity difficulty ourselves. So we want to really move up and kind of nestle ourselves in this valley and just make sure that we're going to stop any potential expands that come through. And it looks like we've got an open border request. I think taking open borders here is always the right choice. It's free gold for you. We'll just wait on this next turn and just see if we get any offerings through from Confucius. It doesn't look like it, so we're going to go ahead. We'll offer him the research collaboration. He's going to support it. That's going to give us +6. And now because we've actually met him, let's check where all of our other techs are at. We might just leave this for the moment, even though we could offer him another festival, or actually, I don't really like this one, to be honest. So it's happiness for cities. And look, I like being happy, but it's really not that important for me in Civ at the early stage of my game. My main focus is just making sure that I manage relationships and I'm able to get the resources that matter the most in the early game, which is culture and is science. So let's continue expanding out. We've got a couple of options as to how we go about it. We could look to come down here, or we could look to move up. And I think this is probably a decent spot, because once we get a granary as well, this is going to push this even further. So that's quite a nice tile at 3 and 1. We do have the 2 and 1 down here. I'm just going to go with the 3 and 1 though. We'll stick it out up there. And let's continue moving up. There's a good chance, actually, I don't know whether he's scouted this out, but we'll continue paying attention. And it looks like we've got another tent camp down here, so we'll make sure that we move in. And remember that we finish our turn here. We've also met Taruga, but we'll finish our turn here, and then that way we can just come over straight away. Let's take a look at what have we got in regard to our options. So we're a science-focused civilization, and this is going to be dependent on the civilization that you're playing and the way that you're playing in the early game. But just a general idea on where you want to go for tech is you want to pick up all 3 of these technologies. It doesn't have to be in any specific order. Then masonry is really good because it provides you the access to the monument, and also the mastery for masonry is quite good as well because it's extra production on your production buildings. Now, for us, we get bonuses for production buildings, so that's going to be really important for us to take advantage of here as Benjamin Franklin, but in the games that you're playing, maybe not as Ben Franklin, it's going to be less important. Irrigation's an important tech because it gives you a settlement limit, but we're not really at the stage here where going for that settlement limit means anything to us because we're still sitting at 1 out of 3. So at the top here of your screen, you can see 1 out of 3. So that'll give us definitely our 4th settlement. But for me, we've also got writing as an option, but the fact that we've got, not only do we have the scientific bonuses that we're giving out to people, the research collaborations, we've got 2 of them. That's our whole bonus, that we can have 2 endeavors of the same type active at a time, and that's massive. So science is going to be less important to me. But if I was playing another Civ, I would probably be looking to focus on writing or masonry. Today, it's going to be masonry. I think that's definitely the wisest choice. And we're now going to be able to settle down here. Beautiful little spot. With the volcano nearby, one thing to note is that it will hurt. It will hurt. So we're going to want to avoid putting our buildings. I've just realized we've got a second volcano. Oh, we got 2 volcanoes and a floodplain. I think this is floodplains. Yeah. No, that's flat plains, but it is a floodplain. So we're going to grow to the cotton. And one thing that I would always advise you do with cotton, because as soon as your town starts working this cotton, it's going to put the cotton in the town. It's like, oh yeah, of course. Oh, wrong button. It's like, oh yeah, you know, your cotton's in the town. But just remember that production that it's got, because each cotton's got 2 production on it, that production is now being turned into gold. And look, I like gold. I want to be as wealthy as Mansa Musa one day, but at the moment, my main focus is production. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take that cotton. Sorry, McKinney Town. I'm not sure what the pronunciation is, but we're going to go and put that cotton in the capital, and then that's going to give 2 production over to our capital. So we go from 11 up to 13, and that's going to help us produce more. Because remember that when it comes to your towns, they don't have a production queue. They only have the ability to purchase buildings. One other thing that we haven't really talked about yet is purchasing buildings. I would say avoid purchasing buildings in your capital. Avoid purchasing units if possible. Try and make everything, and then utilize the gold that you've got to purchase your buildings in your satellite towns. That would be my suggestion on how you play it. Okay, so we've kind of looped up and around. I want to come back up towards this angle, but we've got this guy in the middle here, so it's going to be a bit of a hard. We'll come back around like this and then try and come up through here, but we just want to make sure we keep an eye out on what our opponent is doing here. Let's cancel that and actually put the lookout ability instead. Gives us a little bit more of a view. He could be looking to try and sneak it down this way, so we might even go ahead and just kind of cover this angle. We'll do a little bit of a patrol over here, and I think we can move down towards the south side. We can come look and pick this up here. And we're going to continue to grow. So we can spend 4 turns of gold and get a spearman, or we can take 50 gold. This is a great trade deal. If you look at our gold, I mean, we're making 17 gold a turn, so you're talking about realistically, what is it, 34, 68 gold, and the 50 gold as well. So we're looking at about 120 gold for a spearman. And if we have a look at how much it actually costs to purchase these things, a hoplite to purchase is 120, and a spearman is a tier 2 hoplite. So you better well believe that we are going to absolutely take that right now. Yoink. And that gives us a spearman. That's also given us basically free production in the early stages of the game. So whenever you get an option for a unit like this, it can be very powerful. It really depends on what you're actually giving away for it. So we're going to use our unit. We're just going to scout out around the back of our base. And we're going to be... That was a great trade deal. I'm very happy with how that went. Let's continue scouting. And we've got some salt that we'll never actually get because it's 4 tiles away from our capital. And we've also got our army commander, who we're just going to put to sleep for the moment until we're actually ready to move this settler out. We'll move across here. And I think we can probably look to loop back up, head towards the north. And we've got another scout down towards the south. We're going to continue expanding. It looks like we've actually got the continent's end down here. We've got a lot of land. We have got a lot of land, and because of that, we want to take advantage of that land. One of my golden rules for Civ 7 is that if you've got space for cities or towns, you should put those cities or towns down. That's really, really important because every town that you create, it's basically for free, right? As long as it's under this settlement cap, it's for free. You got to pay for the production of the initial settler, and then once it comes out, it's for free, and it's generating gold. It's generating income. We're getting 7 gold right now from this bad boy. It is a huge amount of resources that are coming through, and one day this could turn into a city. So my advice is just almost always look to try and bring that in. We can also go for +2 food in all settlements out here. I think this is probably a smart move. It's only going to take 6 turns for us to do that compared to Code of Laws, which is going to take us 17 turns. So we're going to go ahead and grab the mastery here. And let's make sure we patrol back here. We've just got our patrol on for the moment. We're just scanning for any potential citizens or settlers that are looking to settle. And we're going to now move across now that we've finished our settler. And we're going to come out over in this direction. We'll bring our spearmen over to help as well. And let's see what we found. We found Jose Rizal down here. So I think he knows about this natural wonder. And now we can think about, okay, where are we going from here? So in my opinion, even though we've still got a lot of buildings that we can create, and there are some great yields on these buildings, I still think it's more important that we get another settler out. And you might be looking at the top here and say, okay, but hold on. You're already at 2 out of 3. When you plant this settler down, it's going to push you to 3 out of 3. Do you really want to go to 4 out of 3? Well, you got to remember that we've also got tech that's being researched. And irrigation is going to be a 7-turn research. We've got 4 turns here, which is 11 turns. So if we've got a settler that's 7 turns, that means that we've got 4 turns to get it out here. And that should give us perfect timing on that. So just once again, to remath that, we'll be 3 out of 4, or rather, we'll be 3 out of 3, and then technically we'll be 4 out of 3, but it doesn't happen until we settle the city. And so if we look at our research, we've got 4 turns to our current research, plus the 7 to get irrigation for the settlement limit. That's what we're looking at. That settlement limit, +1 settlement limit is there. And then, of course, the 7 turns plus, it'll probably take us about 4 turns to get out here. And even if we're down for a little bit, we'll be absolutely okay with it. All right, so Confucius has offered us +3 food in towns for both leaders. This is a great bonus. I think you should almost always look to take this bonus in the early game. There are some bonuses that I think are great and some bonuses that I think are less great. So the big ones that you want to look for are science and culture. These are the 2 big ones. The next one I think is your food. Gold is also quite good. You can sometimes get gold offerings from people. And then the less attractive bonuses are going to be your happiness bonuses. So local festival is an example. I don't reject them, but I just kind of accept or support. I don't support them, rather. I just accept them. So that's one of the other ones. And then you've got a military one as well, which gives you a bonus to your military units. And I often just kind of look the other way when it comes to those bonuses as well. All right, let's talk about settling and where we're going to go. The computer says over here, despite there being no fresh water, I think it's probably putting quite a bit of weight on this cotton. But I think this is probably a better settle right on this position. It also means that we could potentially look to take out Serta. Let's have a look and see. Nobody's actually befriending it at the moment, so we could kill it. That's our city. Let's have a look here. No one's befriending it. We always just want to check and see whether they're being befriended. So here you can see Harriet Tubman is befriending this independent power. So what that means is that it's not going to be aggressive forever. If we take a look at this one, it's not being befriended at the moment. So we've got about how many turns? We've got about 6 turns before it becomes her friend, but then about 21 turns before I think it'll take a couple of turns before she's actually got control over it completely. Okay, a little bit of an edit in just here. Sorry, the recording software that I'm using just crashed. So we're just going to continue on with where we were from. So we're going to look to expand out over onto this natural wonder. The key thing that we're going to be very aware of is the potential threat of these barbarians, or these independent people that are coming in from the north. So we've got two ways that we could play it with the scout that's coming in at the moment, but we're going to try and look to keep our distance as much as we possibly can. We'll look to scout out all areas of the map, and something that normally I don't like to do, but we'll go ahead and do it here, is we're just going to send him off into oblivion. Good luck, little scout. I hope that you're served well. And we can already start to see the potential threat of the enemy. So what I'm going to do here is, because there is a we've got a warrior that's here, and we saw the scout, there's a good chance that there is going to be more warriors that are coming through. So what we're going to look to do is just kind of hold down this position for now. And normally I would say don't purchase your units. It's probably not a smart idea, but we need to get this settlement down. The sooner we get this down, the better, because we've got a potential risk that someone else might be settling it. So we need to rush this bad boy as quickly as possible. So we're going to go ahead and purchase a hoplite. And by doing that, that's going to give us a little bit more pressure up against this. For the moment, we're probably going to want to... I don't actually mind taking damage here on our units, just as long as we're able to hold this tile, because that's going to allow us to potentially come around the bottom here as an alternative route, because we don't know how many units are going to be coming out here, but there's a risk, because this is a military city-state compared to... Oh, that one we've... Actually, is it a military city-state? Give me a second here. Why is it... Is this signal just saying that they're all at war with me? No, here's a cultural city-state. I'll have to double check, but it looks like an angry city-state. Let's just put it that way. So we'll just leave these ones for now. Expansion. There is a real potential to expand down towards this cotton here on this turn. We don't actually have the goal to do it, so I'm not going to talk about the potential leapfrog that we could do here. We're just going to leave it and say that even if we could, we wouldn't want to do that. Just mainly because with a volcano, we want to avoid at all costs building any sort of urban district nearby, just because the costs to repair it are going to be frustrating to deal with. All right, well, we'll move back now. We want to use our scout to almost bait the enemy. If there's any military units here, we want to be able to hit them. And it looks like we should be okay for the moment. We want to make sure that we're able to cross this river. The one thing I'm scared about is that this galley might come up and try and attack. So I'm thinking that we might want to come around. These galleys do a lot of damage. You need to respect the galleys in the early game. And we've got a diplomatic request. So Harriet Tubman has come in with a happiness request. Now, one of the things to note is it's very tempting for me to reject this right now. Primarily because I don't value the happiness, even though, 13 to 16, it's decent, right? Whereas if I just accept it, I'm going to be getting influence, which is wonderful. But one thing to note, and I think it's really important, is we've got a good relationship with Jose Rizal, but our relationship with Harriet Tubman is not the best, primarily because of this settlement here. We settled close to her capital. Even though it's closer to our capital, like if you were to count the tiles, 1, 2, 3, 4 between it versus like the 8, she's still like everybody, everything is mine, get out of here. And you can see that we've got a negative modifier here. So because of that decision, where she's very much saying, you know what, well, I guess the way I'm thinking about this is, look, if we accept this here, this is a way for us to sort of bridge that gap a little bit and to repair this relationship. It makes us less likely to go to war with her, more likely for us to macro up, and that's exactly what we want to do. We just want a Sim City here. We don't want to get too crazy with it, and we're going to continue our patrol on that top side. And now, for the moment, we're just going to hold on this tile. We're not going to move with these units. We're just going to hold because we need to wait for the spearmen. But you can see that we've got a real problem here. And that problem, as we move back onto this tile, you can see it's a little bit of a shuffle. We're just going to look to repair, and we're just going to hold that position. We've now got our second cotton, so once again, we'll do the exact same thing that we did with the previous cotton and move it into our capital. And we're going to just shuffle back here. And what we're doing here is we're looking for that settler, and if we see the settler, we're going to try and block it. We will do everything that we can to block that settler. And speaking of blocking, have a look at this. We've got Longchang Village down here looking to try and get involved. Now, we could fortify in this position. It wouldn't be terrible. And if we did that, we're going to heal up a little bit. We are technically in our territory, so we should actually heal pretty much to full health. So I'm going to go ahead and sleep these units just for now. So let's see. So we healed up 24. Oh, no, we took 24, but then I think we heal a decent amount. So we're going to move here onto this tile with our hoplites. You can see that we do some decent damage, 46 damage there. He's about to be knocked out, the poor guy. And we'll look to just hold this position right now. We can see Longcheng's moving over towards the east side, quite far away. Now we've got irrigation that we need to be considering, 8 turns, so that'll give us roughly 6 turns to settle out here, which should be more than enough. But there are a lot of barbarians early on. We've done a bit of healing, and I'm just going to slowly try and sneak these guys out the bottom. We've got a pretty decent spot here. Our main focus is getting out here quickly, and we're also going to try and block a potential route from the enemy to come in on this north side. With regard to our hoplite, we could look to try and move it down to this angle, but realistically, I think probably healing up is just going to make a bit more sense in this situation. Our next growth, we don't have our granary just yet. Keep in mind that we have researched our animal husbandry at this point, but we don't have the granary, so we're not going to get that bonus. It will eventually come through, but at the moment, we don't get it. So where are our other growth options? We could go for big hammers right now. Big hammers and happiness is quite nice, so 3 on that isn't terrible. How long does it take us to grow? It takes us 17 turns to grow, which is quite a while. We do have some good options. I think probably the fishing key... Actually, maybe moving into the pasture is probably the right call here, even though... You know what? I'm just going to take the navigable river tile. I think it makes the most sense right now because we'll just throw down the fishing key. We'll expand over into this tile. Could we even look to do that right now? Because if I remember correctly, we're on this tile, right? That's a fishing boat. So if we just pump that there and we evict that guy and then we'll move this back to the top, and now we should be able to work that tile, and that gives us a better yield. So that you might have to rewind that and watch exactly what we did, but we basically used the urban district to kick out the citizen that was working that tile. That then forces them to relocate, and we've relocated them into a better yielding tile. And by the same token, we've also made our settler back to the top of the queue. So we had to bring it into the top of the queue and then push the settler back up there. All right, so our next mastery, or our mastery's been complete. We're now going to go down and head towards Code of Laws, and let's take a look and see. Have we got our policies? There we go. So we can choose between 2 culture on the palace, gold in all settlements, or food and production on the palace. So we've got 21 science at the moment, which is pretty decent, right? So compare that to our culture. 2 culture is quite a lot at this stage. So I think it's important to keep that in. So we'll go ahead, get rid of tool making, and instead we'll put in +2 food in all settlements, and that's going to push up 2 food in these 2, as well as any of our subsequent settlements. So that's quite a powerful early game bonus. We've got the ability to go into 25 culture, but I think the extra happiness here is going to make the most sense, just because we don't really need culture at this stage of the game. So we can see Harriet Tubman's got an absolutely huge army towards this north. We'll fortify our position and have a look at what the play is. It looks like she might even be going to war with this village. We can see that nobody's actually secured it just yet, or even looked to, but I think we've managed to escape down the bottom. We'll... with our settler, I'm trying to get over here. I don't know why our settler is not doing that. There we go. I didn't realize the settler and the scout are actually the same group, so they can't be put together on the same tile. So we'll also keep our spearmen here just to make sure. I tell you what, that spearman really saved us quite a bit of work in the early game. It just really makes your production so much easier. And now we can use this hoplite that we've got back here. We've kind of used it to bait the enemy troops here, but we can also use it to provide coverage for this settler. So one thing that we need to be cautious of is the threat of units coming in from Cirta. So what we're going to do is we're just going to move up and around. I think is probably the best bet. We probably could have gone to this tile as well. Now, one other thing that we could look to do is befriend the independent. You can see we need 170, but I think what's probably going to be a better choice is just to go to war with them and kill them, because we can set up a really nice line of settlements. I'm thinking right here, I'm thinking right here, and I'm thinking somewhere around this oasis is going to be very nice. There's some good resources in here, so looking to secure that is going to make a lot of sense the longer this game goes on. All right, so the enemy has, or the natural power, the independent power rather, let's get it right. Independent power has withdrawn for the moment. We can look to heal up. Let's test the waters. How much are we looking up towards this top side? And we'll go into here now. And I think we could actually be fine. As long as there's nothing hidden on these 2 tiles, we're okay. We've managed to sneak the settler. Remember, we want this one, so we should be able to get it next turn. We're also going to be able to put down over here. And we're not able to settle right now, but we're able to leave that one behind, and we can look to get the spearmen over onto... Oh, that was a misclick. We can look to get the spearmen over here. We can even potentially get an attack in from the back. I'm not a huge fan of this. I'm just going to let him go for the moment. And let's take a look at our next expansion. So we're not going to expand out over onto these dates, even though technically we could reach it. I think the next thing is probably going to be going after, we could come down to the salt. Salt isn't a high priority for me. I think the biggest priority is going to be silk though. So looking to try and secure this will be important. So we'll throw down the farm, and already I'm noticing that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 buildings that are all, or 4 of our the same type of yield that we've got. So basically a granary would give us huge bonuses here. You can see we've got +5 on the granary. But one thing is we are going to need this as a way to come out and to actually build more urban tiles in here, because you need to connect your urban tiles. So that's another thing to note, is that this will eventually be replaced, and so will this as we build out further. Okay, so our scout, we'll bring him back one last time for a little bit of a rotation. And this scout can start moving towards the north, but we've got our settlements about to come down, and it looks like almost certainly we're going to have to go to war with Cirta. Now, we have just about completed our fishing key. It's taking us a long time to train our citizens, but after we complete our fishing key, we'll be looking to get more online, and our settler comes down. You can see we've connected the road because it's within 10 tiles, and we're going to grow. So our first growth is going to be a more aggressive growth out towards the enemy, or closer towards the enemy. And let's see. Looks like we should be fine to settle here. Just to confirm, yeah, I think this is probably the spot here. Does that, if we take that one out, yeah, we've got plenty of space here. I'm not too fast. Oh, there is an enemy right here, though. So that is a little bit of a worry. We might have, let's head up there immediately. And we've actually got enemies everywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to purchase a slinger, just because I'm kind of scared right now because we didn't actually realize it was there. But look, this is a normal component of playing Civ 7. You got to take these risks, right? Because if you make units, it's going to put you further behind. Let's take a look and see. We've got at the moment our dates in Corinthos town. Is there somewhere better that we could have these? We could technically get rid of the silk and put the dates in here, but look, to be honest, I think the dates are still going to get good value, just because it's food, it's happiness. The town is getting 100% of those values for the moment. With our scout, we don't want to take needless damage over here, so we're just going to pull our scout back, and our spearmen, we don't want to attack into the dense foliage. That will give us a little bit of a penalty when attacking. So we're just going to sleep this for now. We're going to move the hoplite to the north, but we do have up here the slinger, so the slinger should be able to defend, but it's not even going to be needed for the moment. And we can even bring our scout back, but there's a part of me that wants to leave it out here for the moment, just mainly because we've got Harriet Tubman here, and she's not happy with us. At least not yet. Let's take a look and see what we've got. So nothing else has really happened here. I'm going to offer her a research collaboration, because I've got enough here that in the event someone else offers me one, that I should be able to afford it. And she's accepted it, so that's going to give us an extra little bit of science. And now we can enjoy this. This is it. Now we're at the fun part here. This is the macro. We're at 4 out of 3, so we've got a little bit of a happiness penalty at the moment. But in 3 turns, the irrigation is going to push that into very happy territory. And now we can just focus. I think here the most important thing is just going to be on growing. So we'll go ahead. We'll put our granary. We'll pair it with the brickyard. Gives us a nice little bonus to the yield, and we can get our scout on the movement here. We actually just made a bit of a mistake there, unfortunately, but look, I'm sure he'll be okay. Worst case scenario, we'll have to send in the SWAT team to bring him out alive, or the SEAL team to bring him out alive, and we'll continue moving up towards the north. And the main focus here is now we want to look to try and take out Cirta, just because they are in an enviable position, or at the very least, we want to try and keep them. How do I say this kindly? We want to keep them under our thumb. Let's go with that. All right, so we want to consolidate forces at the moment. You can see that we're kind of in every single little bit. So we want to try and utilize our commander. So I'm going to bring down our forces again. We're just going to leave the slinger up towards that top side. And have a look at this. Harriet Tubman's really bringing a lot of forces in. This is a bit scary. Now, you could potentially denounce the military presence here, but this can always backfire, because she could just be like, actually, I am going to go to war with you, and you might not be prepared just yet for that. Whereas if you don't do it, it might take her a little bit of time before she's actually ready to click that button. So our main focus, so Jose Rizal has offered us happiness, and of course, he's already happy with us. So by us supporting this, it doesn't really change anything for him. We don't want the happiness. We definitely want that. We definitely want the influence. So we're going to take that here. And now we've got a science offering from Confucius, and of course we're going to take that because we love science. Thank you very much, Confucius. Very nice of you. And we enter into a golden age, or rather a celebration. So once again, this is where you can say, okay, well, we can justify food here because growth is good, and the more you grow, the better. But I think for us right now, we've spent a lot of time pushing out settlers, and now it's time to focus on our macro. We've got a lot of buildings that we can construct, and we don't want to purchase these because we want to save our gold for our towns. And because of that, I think it's important that we just go absolutely ham on our production right now. So we'll go ahead, we'll move the +1 production in as well. And we've got all of our production resources in, and let's see if we can throw this. We want to throw this probably in Knossos. Gnosis, I think is the pronunciation on that one. And now that we've got that, let's continue to consolidate these forces. And we've actually got a pretty nice little... This is technically coming up as a stalemate because we are damaged, so we'll heal to full while we wait for our bonuses. You can see they've got their nice little healing tents coming in. That should heal us up to full, I think. Oh, no, it's going to be very, very slightly. We still have... Let's go ahead and hit that one. And we're slowly closing in on turn 50. And I think one of the important things to note is that when it comes to the speed of your playthroughs, a huge component of that is going to be about the speed that you're actually playing on. So one of the recommendations that I've made before to people is that make sure in your advanced options when you set up a game, I don't think you can see it here, but always make sure that you turn on the longer errors. So you can see we're only at 17% at the moment. So I want to try and make it towards the end of my age. I don't want to just kind of throw out, I think we will take this one right here. This is quite a nice little expand, and we'll go here. But I always want to make it to the end of the era. And I'm not able to do that unless I actually turn that setting on. So I would encourage you to do that. Masonry versus writing, that's our decision making at the moment. +1 production on production buildings. So we've only got the one at the moment. We're about to put the saw pit down as well. So that might align quite nicely for that extra little bit of production. And it can make the difference, right? You're on 17, you're going up to 18. That'll be 19 with that bonus. So it's a nice little bonus. But is that enough to justify the delay in writing? I mean, for us, we're at 27 science. We're not in a rush to get writing. So I think that does make sense here. We can look to go into the garden as well, but I think the saw pit's probably going to make the most sense just because you get the extra science for it as well. So I'm going to continue looking to expand out here, just mainly because we're thinking about Petra in the late game that's going to be here. So we want to just expand out with our urban districts over on this area. And I think this is a decent spot. We'll just go out here. And now we can start to move. We want to be very careful with how we move, just primarily because I thought I clicked on this tile here. Is it just me? Okay, it looks like the game is a little bit buggy. I don't know why it's showing it over there. Everybody's diving in on that tile. I don't know what's happened here, but that was not part of my plan. I'll say that much now. Neither was that. And that's a lot of units coming out right now from Serta. And it does look like Harriet Tubman is going to be helping us out, which is wonderful. Exactly what we need. Thank you, Harriet, for the assistance. And Jose Rizal's asking for open borders, so that's some free gold for us. We'll definitely take that. And now we've got a decent amount of gold that started to build up, 259. So we can start doing a bit of an assessment. Is there anywhere that we could look to get a warehouse building right now? So this would be a great spot because we've already got 1, 2, 3 of our granary bonuses. So you can see we're up to a +4 granary. And we always want to focus on growing our food in our towns first. We want to avoid production because production is just going to be converted into gold. So basically you would be paying 220 gold to get 1 gold per turn. Not worth it. Paying 220 gold to get 5 food per turn, definitely worth it. Now we're going to need somewhere to put it down, and as I've said to you before, the volcano, if we put it near that and the volcano turns active, at the moment it's not active, but it could turn active at any moment, it would potentially erupt and it would damage all of the tiles around it, including that. So we're going to just put this down. Instead of putting it even in our city center, we're going to put it on this tile right here. It's going to kick out our farmer, and we're going to have to refund that and send it back somewhere so we could go out to the culture. But even then, like hypothetically at the moment, culture's not really that important for us. Like we don't even have the space to put it in. And even if we did, we'd probably want to put one of these dates up here. So instead of going for that culture, the other risk that I think we might need to weigh up though, and I'm gonna throw it out there right now, is that if Harriet does make a settle down here, she will steal this culture. So what I'm gonna do is, just so I don't have to ever think about that again, is I'm gonna take this. I'm instead going to take this, and then we'll grow out here next time. Don't worry, we'll get it next time. All right, where's our spearman at? He's at 69 health. I think you probably just want to heal up at this point. We could look to finish that off, but the problem is if you manage to take this out, then you're on this side and there's an archer and then maybe 2 melee units and they're just going to destroy you. So it's just better, it's just safer. You just look to heal up on this side for the moment and then you wait for your ranged reinforcements, which we could definitely look to do. Now keep in mind, the enemies are already at archers, whereas for us, we've got quite a way to go before we actually hit archers. It's all the way down in bronze working, so we need to hit riding and then bronze working. So quite a bit to go until we get there. So we're going to be stuck with slingers for a while. Was it our scout that we just lost? I think it was. I saw something just went down there, but we didn't get any notification. So I'm just going to pretend like it wasn't. Okay, next up, we can make a decision. Do we move into the wool or do we make a decision to go into the science and the culture? And you might be tempted to say, okay, wool's got to be the play. But for me, I think just getting a little bit of extra science and culture right now is going to make so much sense. So we're just going to go ahead. We're going to do that. We're going to grab the science and culture. The +1 is just so damn nice for you early on in the game. And I think we want to try and expand out towards this position. Even though the resource itself isn't that good, it's always just nice to have it in the back pocket. And how can you say no to a +6 garden? Where are we putting this bad boy down? We've got only one option to put this down, and it's on a tile that we really are quite happy just to throw it in on. So we'll go ahead and do that. Keep in mind that we've still got that bonus for another 7 turns. We've got that celebration bonus, and our happiness is absolutely off the charts. What is going on with our happiness? Why are we so happy? I have got no idea why we're so happy. It looks like all of our cities are just doing very, very, very well for themselves with regard to happiness. Oh, that's why. Look at this. We've got lots of happy faces coming in. So that's part of the reason why. Okay, so I'm going to move forward onto this position. Just mainly because we've got this one unit here from Harriet that's kind of giving us a little bit of cover. Please, Harriet. Anyway. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. We could try and sneak it. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to slowly work it down. We'll bide our time here. Spearman's at 89. We could look to move in here. Spearman's quite strong compared to these units. So now we've got the promotion, Army Commander. Now, I would always recommend moving down the Assault tree. It is by far the best, in my opinion. Even if you're playing a macro game, I think moving into the Assault tree just makes the most sense. So we'll go ahead. We'll grab the first tier on our Assault tree. And let's continue as we are struggling right now. Have a look at that at the backside. We probably needed to move the Army Commander across, so a little bit of a mistake right here from us, and a lot of ranged units on this side. And because there are so many ranged units on this side, it is something where it's just, you really want to avoid fighting into here. So we'll go ahead. We'll actually move this Spearman out the back. We'll also cover with our Army Commander across like that, and then it makes it a little bit more difficult for us to lose it, because for us the main thing is not that, oh, we need to be careful down here, not that we actually take this out, but we just kind of keep it under our thumb. We keep it and make sure that we're going to be okay. All right, we've got another offering here, the farmers market. We're definitely going to be happy to take that one. That's going to power up all of our cities and give us that real macro strength. Now, one thing to note is that we're somewhat struggling with our culture. When it comes to culture offerings, Jose Rizal is the only one who's actually got them, and it looks like he may have actually given that off to somebody else. So we've got a research collab that we could give him, but if we gave it to him, there's the potential that we miss out from that. So we need to be cautious of that. Other than that, the other big thing that we're looking for is the timing on entertainment and organized military. You can go above that settlement limit, but I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think it's worthwhile doing. Now, one of the other things that we haven't really spoken much about is your world wonders. So world wonders, slightly different from natural wonder. Natural wonder is over here. World wonders, these big boys down the bottom. Hanging Gardens, Der Shadowkin. These are your wonders. Now, a tip I'll give to you, I give this every video I mention it, just hit the view hidden button, and that's going to tell you what you can actually make in this city at the moment. Because sometimes throughout the game, and the other leaders will complete the world wonders, and you won't know what's available. This is how you can check not only what's available, but what you can build in your city. So you can say, oh, Petra's available right now. I need to research Code of Laws. Well, good thing I'm researching Code of Laws. It'll take 10 turns to get there. And there we go, the cultural exchange. So had we given that extra, or had we given that that research agreement in the last turn over to Jose Rizal, we wouldn't be able to accept this right now. And there's a good chance he may not have even thrown that out to us, because maybe he would have supported that as well. So now we've still got in that back pocket the ability to move into that research agreement just when we're ready. All right, so here we're just going to continue focusing down. It doesn't look like we're going to be a priority. And remember, for us, we don't care so much about securing the last hit, because you do get a little bonus from securing the last hit when it comes to these independent people. But the most important thing for us, is just that it's gone. So we got a thunderstorm, and it looks like the thunderstorm has blessed us. What have we got here? We've got absolutely nothing but one tile gaining fertility, but that will continue to grow. Wow, look at that. I tell you what, city's looking pretty good. How are we doing on our celebration? We got 3 turns left of our celebration, so we once again want to look to try and put something in here. We could go for +3 culture, which I think makes the most sense. Even though the altar's a good building, I think this monument is going to really make a lot of sense. So where are we going to go for this? And it looks like, hold on, that's a really good tile. Where did that come from? I think that's the fertility that we were just given, wasn't it? So this one here definitely makes the most sense. So we don't get any quarter bonuses at the moment. And that's a 2-2 with 1 happiness on it. I think that's probably the best tile that we could ask for at the moment. It definitely is. We'll be happy to take that. Another growth towards the north. How are we doing on this city? This city is actually getting pretty close to specialization. Now, if we're looking at specialization, what are we going for? So we've got 1, 2, 3 with regard to these bonuses. We'll also go for a granary. Now, when we put our granary down, it doesn't look like there's anything we still kind of want the culture. You know what I'm going to do? Okay, so we're going to put down the granary on this position right here. That's going to expand us out. And then we're going to... it's tough, isn't it? I was... In my head, I was like, okay, and then we'll put it there. Actually, I know what we can do. We can do this. We don't have the gold for it yet, but don't worry, we'll have it soon. Harriet Tubman offers us again. Okay, she's still not 100% happy with us. I want her to be friendly before I stop accepting. Oh, I don't have the resources to accept it. I don't have the resources to accept it. Now, one other thing to note is you can't end turn forcibly and get the, and roll it over. If you do that, it will just accept or it will do the middle one for you. And another thing you need to be careful is if you're forcibly ending turns, and somebody offers you an alliance, it will accept it if you forcibly end the turn. And you have to be very careful when you accept an alliance, because if someone is at war and you're they offer you an alliance, it will immediately put you into war against those people. So you need to be very cautious about forcibly ending turns. So we're just going to have to accept. We can't support, even though we would want to support here, which is disappointing. But let's go ahead and we'll use our hoplite here just to clear this out. And hopefully, that means Serta will be ended. We need to be very aware of this little position down here on the south. How are we doing on the granary? Not the best opening for it. And so now we've secured this position. Let's go ahead and take this tile here, which will guarantee that we have got the culture for the late game when we need it eventually. And here, once again, I think moving into the science tile is going to make the most sense. So we'll go ahead and do that. That gives us 7 tiles before we need to grow out over here. And we could look to specialize this city. Now, I'm not going to specialize just yet because there's still quite a bit of resources that I want to take from here. But once we've got those resources, even though it's going to take another 10 turns, so that'll put us at turn 58, I still think that we have got some decent time in that before we need to specialize it. Let's move some of our units down here. We're not going to... Actually, do we want to start a fight here? We could look to try and get some damage in on this, because I think for the moment, Serta is almost certainly going to be going down very, very shortly. Harriet Tubman is not going to actually do it, so if she's not going to do it, we will do it. That is fine. So we'll jump in and disperse the independent. 100 production. I don't know where that production goes. Maybe to the cap. I'm not 100. Yeah, it's definitely gone to the cap. We're going to, instead of repairing the woodcutter like this, which is going to take time, instead what we're going to do is we're just going to pay the money and have it repaired. Now, you can also go into debt to repair your tiles. If your tiles have been taken out, you'll be able to do that. Now, we could turn some of that production into a world wonder. How do you guys feel about that? We're at turn 49 right now. We're very close to turn 50. And actually, you know what? There's another world wonder that I want to build in 4 turns. It's Petra. So what we're going to do is, instead of taking a hoplite here, because what am I going to do with a hoplite? We've got a hoplite or a migrant. And how long until we grow? We've got 13 turns until we grow. We're going to definitely take a migrant here. We are going to... Let's put all of our resources into... probably just into the altar. And there's a lot of tiles here. Which one is the one that makes sense? There's nothing here that is standing out above any of them. So we'll just throw it into the monument tile. But we've also got the option between a influence and codex. So at this point in the game, 75 influence is quite nice. And that's especially nice for Ben Franklin, because he gets an extra bonus research collaboration that he can throw out to anybody, which, speaking of which, have we... Yeah, we've done all of our research collaborations. Actually, no, we haven't. Never mind. Let's... Jose Rizal, you interested in a research collab? Yeah, he is. +4 science. So one of the things that we can do is use that influence to then purchase another research collaboration. But a codex is something that will stay with us forever. If we take a look at our great works right now, we've got nothing in our palace. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that codex, and that's going to put a great work in our palace that gives us +2 science. But not only that, it's also going to start progressing us towards our science victory, which we will be definitely going for in this game. So we'll take a look. We did also manage to upgrade our commander, so we'll look to march down the line. We've got... I normally go down ranged units, but because we've got that early spearman, I think it makes so much sense for us to just stick with melee for the moment. We've also got the hoplite, which is our unique unit. So we've solved this problem. Now the question is, where do we go from here? Longcheng, about to be converted over to Harriet Tubman in 1 turn, so that's not going to be a problem. Let's check in with Shengul. Shengul converting to Jose Rizal in 13 turns. That's not going to be a problem, at least not at the moment. Where are you from, good sir? You are from the village of Longcheng. Well, you're not going to be too much of a concern next turn. And then we've got Taruga. Now, keep in mind that even though Taruga's friendly right now, there is a chance that this could always change in the future. They will just flip on a dime, and you won't even know, and you'll be like, what are you doing over there, Taruga? So you do need to be cautious of that. And so I think for the moment, we're absolutely fine with regard to our military. I think we probably just want to heal up. We want to try and look to defend this, because all of these, if I am looking, there's Sertra, which all came from here. So we'll just clean all of these guys up. That's going to be our main focus. And our migrant. So we chose between a migrant and a hoplite, and we've gone with a migrant. So we're going to pop that down. And we are going to expand. Now, we can't see any of the yields on these tiles when you use the migrant. So we're just going to have to come back here. This is a nice tile down here. I think we're definitely going to have to take this one. So 3 production, a culture, and a happiness. And our capital's grown very big. For a game that started, or that's on standard, for us to be at 15 population at turn 49, we're doing very well in this game. And that's largely a credit just due to Ben Franklin. He is an incredible early game leader. And we roll over into turn 50. And I know that this is about mastering the first 50 turns, but there's a part of me that just wants to keep playing. And I know that this video is already growing long as it is, and I'm confident that people see long videos and they get a little bit scared by them. But maybe we can we go to like turn 55? Would you guys let me go to turn 55? I'll go to turn 55. Just remember, the longer I get to record, the longer I can stay in here and my wife doesn't harass me. Oh gosh. 1 turn to go until Code of Laws is complete. Writing is about to be completed as well, which means that we could think about moving into a library, but the more important thing for us is just going to be about making sure that we've got our production ready to go. I'm going to just put it into a scout. It's the lowest production unit, and you can see that we're already kind of over, so hopefully it's going to carry over that production for us quite well. Let's continue moving these units down just to make sure that we are covering them. That was a mistake right there from me. Should have moved on to this tile. I accidentally misclicked onto that one. So we want to clean these up. And now we've picked up all of our techs, all of our science. You can see Longcheng towards the south has now been converted over. So that means that we're not going to have to worry about them because they've been sorted out. Now, keep in mind, if you wanted to, before Longcheng reaches its final status, so if we look at Shengul, if you want to come in and try and snipe this away from someone, you can do that. You need to befriend them, and then you need to like bribe them off for every single step of the way. It's so expensive. So basically, when it comes to these independent people, it's basically like first in, best rest. It's not like the envoy system where you can just kind of, pip somebody at the post. It is definitely not that case. It's very much about, it's a slow crawl, but once it's there, it's one of those things. Anyway, we've now got the ability to put down Petra. We've also got our library, which is going to cost us 4 turns versus Petra, which is going to be 15. Now, at the moment, Petra doesn't look that appealing, and that is simply because we don't have a lot of tiles that are desert. But you've got to keep in mind that realistically here, we've got a lot that we can work that is going to be desert. My king did actually steal away some of the desert tiles from our cap, so a little bit of a mistake from me here, especially because you can't actually flip them over in Civ 7 like you can in previous games. So let's go ahead and go through. Now, we can choose between culture and science. Now, there's a chance that this will lead to something further down the path. So I'm going to go with science here instead of culture. And we've got another thing here, build a monument versus build a garden. We're going to take the build a garden option. We've already built the garden. It was over here. So we've already got that. And here, Jose Rizal has asked to ally with him. So if we take a look at him, we'll see that he is currently hostile with 2 leaders. And we're the only ones that he's helpful with. He doesn't think a single bad thing about us. And because of that, I'm just going to say, look, Jose, I like you, but just as a friend. Sorry. And our favorite twink is just going to have to bite the bullet here. and move on to his next relationship. For us, though, we're going to continue moving forward down this tech tree. Now, where do we go from here? I love to go into writing on this mastery. +1 science on science buildings and gain 1 codex. The only thing is we're not going into our library straight away here. We're going to delay it because we're going into Petra. However, if we go into bronze working, there's a little bit more value here. So moving into bronze working makes sense because it's going to allow us to upgrade our units. So prioritizing this makes a lot of sense in the early game. When it comes to beelining techs, I will just say right now, I think the most important tech that you want to beeline is mathematics. It's going to provide you the academy, which gives you a huge amount of science once you get specialists involved. And let's continue having a look. So we could look to go into Code of Laws 2. We don't have any specialists yet, so there's no real point for us to do that. We could look to move into citizenship, which provides us access to another world wonder, which is definitely quite good. But for me, I think the most important thing is actually getting up into entertainment, just so that we can get that settlement limit increased, or organized military for more settlement increases. So let's take a look and see, is there anything we really want out of these? Not really. They're basically just means to an end. So we'll go ahead and just take public life, and we'll work our way towards entertainment. And of course, we'll take a look at Petra and see, where is Petra going to be going down? Which tile do we want to be keeping, and which tile do we want to be getting rid of? So if you had to guess about which tile you'd be getting rid of, it would probably be that one right there, because it's got the lowest. I mean, it's technically got a gold yield, but we don't really care that much about the gold yield on it. So we'll just go ahead and put Petra down on that tile. It's going to take us 15 turns to get through it. We've also got to have a look at this. This is actually wonderful. We've got an option to trade for ivory. So if we take a look at what ivory does, it provides 10% production towards wonders placed on tropical, plains, and desert terrain. And what have we just done? We've just placed a wonder down on desert terrain. So we want to set this bad boy up as quickly as we can. So we want to try and get into our territory. Keep in mind, the way that traders work in Civ 7 is different. It's not about just selecting the trader and then being like, okay, I want to trade with Axum, and off it goes. You actually have to send the physical trader out over into that territory now. And then they kind of like flipped it around, basically, is the best way to think of it. All right. Well, let's clear up this little bit of a hassle. Slowly getting it. So we got the scout out as well. Not that we really need a scout. Scout, I don't even know what we're going to do with you. We'll send you up here and spot that out. We've already met everybody that we need to. We'll take this silk tile now, and let's see if we can get a refund on this, and we can specialize this town. So we want to specialize this town, and to do that, what we're going to be doing is moving into a farming town. But when we do that, what's going to happen is it's going to give us +1 farm, or +1 food on farms, pastures, plantations, and fishing boats. And that's not a farm, that's a mine. So what we can do to get rid of it is we can build a brickyard on that mine, and that's going to eject our settler. And now we can go and build him somewhere down over here, which is a flat desert tile, so we'll take that one. And now we can specialize and say, okay, we know it's going to take you 8 turns for your next citizen. That's not too bad, but we want that food right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit farming town. That's going to take us from 26, and it's going to push that to 31. And what that's going to do is that's going to send every single bit of that food now down to my capital, because it's connected. Actually, it should be connected by road. I'm 99% sure it's connected by road. Gosh, that could be terrible. Okay, might give it a second here. Might need a while to update. Gosh, that could have been the world's worst disaster right there. We're gonna keep these for the moment like this. It should be connected. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is like almost certainly connected. I can't imagine a world where it's not. That would be terrible. And let's try and take this unit out right now. There we go. We've done it. We've cleared up the troops, and now hopefully, wait, why are you not? Okay, this has got to be bugged. There's no way. I'm sorry. You're specialized, but you're not sending food to my capital, and you're going to be very careful with this, because you can see it's technically connected. Because there's a connection that goes to here and then comes to here. But it's not connected, right? Because the way that this works is it sends it to... It's sending it to nowhere right now. That's from my understanding, that's what's happening. So I guess it means that there physically needs to be an actual road that's going there. So there's no point for us to grow that right now. At least that's my understanding, because it comes up in the UI. It says it over on the right side. It will say food per turn. So like as an example, if we specialize this right now, we'll turn it back, but we're probably going to turn this into a farming town as well. So if we do this, you would see that it would come up on the UI and it would say +25. but I don't know, for whatever reason, it's just not working. So I guess something to be aware of, something to watch out for, and it means, like, as an example, right now we're at 10, and now we've got a 9, and if we check here once again, it's still not here. So, like, there's literally no point in this town being specialized, so we'll just change it back to growth for the moment, and we'll have to turn something else, like we'll have to put another city down, or maybe we turn this into a city. Production here is not terrible, actually. We could make this into a city, but it's one of those things just to be aware of. I suspect this is probably a bug, so I think, if anything, it's going to get fixed. But yeah, it's one of those things to watch out for. And we're probably going to turn this back into a growing town for the moment. We've got another 4 turns before we grow over here. All right, so on this, we could look... This is grassland, tundra, and marine. We're not building any wonders there at the moment with that, so we're going to take the... we'll take this bad boy, and we'll also look to put the sheep inside here. That'll give us a little bit more production. So we got up to 28 production. It means that we can produce this potentially a little bit faster. Growing town, we still want to grow you. This is probably going to become a city as well, just judging by the amount of production we've got in here. A very nice looking potential city. 10 turns until it grows. We could look to get some more in there, but for the moment, I think we're just going to heal up. And we are probably going to close this one out, ladies and gentlemen, as we move our merchant over. One thing that you'll see, we'll just take a look at our resource allocation at the top here. At the moment, it's going to take us 12 turns to finish Petra, but after we get Axum, these are going to be 2 tiles of ivory that then contribute towards this bonus. So now that's going to give us plus 20% production towards wonders placed, and it means that this should go from 12 to 9. You can see it right there. So it was 12 to 11, and then the 11 comes down to 8. So it is absolutely imperative that we got that. A really nice thing for us there. So once again, I really want to continue playing, but I'm going to leave it there, folks. Hopefully you've enjoyed this look. Of course, this was mastering the first 50 turns. I took you to 56. If you've got any feedback at all, leave it down in the comments, positive or negative. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like. And of course, if you're looking forward to more Civilization 7 content, I almost said Age of Empires. If you're looking forward to more Civilization 7 content, make sure you hit the subscribe button because, well, there is always time for one more turn.